Part 59. Fantasy, Me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 582. The next day. Spirit World. In the restricted area of the Lu clan, 3 figures with terrifying auras stepped up into the sky, tearing apart the void with their hands. The figures walked into it and disappeared in an instant. This action, it made countless forces in the god realm moved by it. Nowadays, when the immortal emperor no longer exists and the quasi-immortal emperor no longer lives in the world, the immortal king is the top combat power. Suddenly, 3 immortal kings suddenly appear. This is an earth-shattering event. I don't know how many people felt a thump in their hearts and secretly thought something was wrong. Afraid. These 3 immortal kings came to deal with them. Fortunately, after the 3 immortal kings appeared, they disappeared, and there was no more movement, which made many people secretly breathe a sigh of relief. But at the same time, another doubt arose in their hearts. What is the reason for the huge commotion in the Lu family? The 3 immortal kings, this is a big deal. They may not be able to run unimpeded in the divine world, but in other worlds, they can almost do it. When these 3 come, their momentum alone can shatter countless worlds. I am afraid, something big has happened. At this moment, countless people thought in unison. At the same time, outside the Tianji building, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu came together. The 2 stood in front of the Tianji Tower. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain raised his head and glanced at the attic in front of him, with a solemn look in his eyes. In his eyes. This is a loft. It is clearly close in front of you, but it is far away in the horizon. The whole body is shrouded in a layer of mist, which makes people feel boundless respect involuntarily. Tianji Luzu is well deserved. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said in a deep voice. As soon as he finished speaking, he glanced at an attic not far away without leaving any trace, and then said lightly, "Let's go and meet the senior Tianji building master." Good. Lu Qingyu nodded. He has also been admiring the master of Tianji for a long time. If he can meet him today, he will naturally not miss this opportunity. After the 2 of them entered. Not far away. In the attic. Meng Qingzi immediately withdrew his consciousness. He patted his chest with lingering fear, then said in fear. I was scared to death. Just as his consciousness spread, he was alerted by that person. Although it was just a fleeting glance, it made him feel as if he was facing an ancient beast. He had never experienced that almost suffocating feeling. Even when facing the Lord of the Underworld, he didn't feel this way. If he hadn't been standing in the desert city, he would have fled. Of course, whether he could escape is another matter. These 2 people are probably not immortal beings. Meng Qingzi was thinking in his mind. It's not like he has never come into contact with people in the immortality realm. Neither Taisha nor the Lord of the Underworld can put such pressure on him. If he is not a person in the immortality realm, then there is only one possibility. That is the legendary immortal king. The reason why it is legendary is because, in his previous life, he had never heard of this realm, and after the powerful worlds such as the Sumeru realm merged together, the immortal king, this realm has gradually become more popular. Meng Qingzi has only heard about it, but he did not expect to see the living immortal king so soon. Moreover, he also stepped into the Tianji Tower. Even the immortal king wants to meet the senior master of Tianji Tower. Meng Qingzi was uneasy. The world has changed too much. In the past, the great emperor was still the top combat power, but now even the second-rate can't squeeze in. He has a feeling that he has been abandoned by the world. If he does not improve his strength, what will happen to the immortal king in the future? It is estimated that he and the 9 Nether Demon sect can be wiped out in an instant. He doesn't even have a chance to rush to the Tianji Tower. The difference in strength is too big, and it can no longer be compensated by some small means. Unless the 9 Nether Demon sect is destroyed. Move to Dawang City. But this is obviously unrealistic. How to quickly improve your strength. Menkingzi is like an ant on a hot pot. He has a lot of resources, but through the TNG tower, the resources are transformed into opportunities and then into strength. It takes a certain amount of time to accumulate. It is impossible to achieve it all at once. Moreover, the strength is improved too quickly and easily. As a result, the foundation is unstable. Even if you become a true immortal in a short period of time and enter the realm of immortality, so what? It will only make you a stepping stone to become a genius and be ruthlessly challenged by others. As a person with countless years formerly, Menkingzi, the young prodigy of the Tianyuan world, would never allow this kind of thing to happen to him. If it really doesn't work, I can't think about the inheritance of the underworld. Menkingzi touched the storage ring on his hand and murmured with a cold light in his eyes. Experienced a battle in Xianguang realm. He has a deep understanding of the power of the underworld. Especially in recent times, I heard that the newly integrated Sumeru realm has caused a big disturbance. What exactly happened? He didn't know. But I heard from people that it seems to be more related to the underworld. Both powerful worlds have rumors of the underworld, which proves the horror of the underworld inheritance. If I get the inheritance from the underworld, why worry about not being able to rise? As for the consequences, it doesn't matter. As long as you have strength, why care about how you got it? The only thing that worries him is that if he participates rashly because he is not strong enough, he may be easily suppressed and become a fan, without even a chance of reincarnation. I hope Senior TNG Poster can point me to a clear path. Menkingzi raised his head, looked in the direction of TNG Tower, and murmured. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 583. Junior Lu Qingyu, meet the Senior TNG Building Master. The junior is Feng Sheng and pays homage to the Senior Master of TNG. In the TNG Tower, Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain all bowed their hands and saluted. Sit down. Li Yun raised his head, glanced at the two of them, pointed to the chair next to him, and said, Thank you, Senior. The two heard the words. Inadvertently, they looked at each other and saw each other's thoughts. Although the TNG poster only said 2 words, these 2 words have already revealed his attitude. There is no malice towards the underworld. After all, if there is malice, the other party can take action now. Before, they took action not far from Dawang City to deal with Zhang Zhangfeng and Wang Che. They could have eliminated each other quietly. But the reason why they choose to do something in a big way is simply to test the attitude of the Master of TNG. With the strength of the Master of TNG, he can see their every move. Once the Master of TNG takes action against them, they can escape as soon as possible. But the owner of TNG Tower did not choose to take action. This invisible acquiescence dispelled a lot of doubts between the two of them, which was also one of the important reasons why they dared to come to TNG Tower. Seniors and juniors just now have a lot of offense to the outside world. I hope seniors will understand. Lu Qingyu handed over his hand. He knows. In this world, nothing can be hidden from the owner of TNG. The two of us can use some tricks, but these tricks don't mean that the owner of TNG doesn't know about it, and the other party doesn't have to pursue it, but we can't just pretend that it never happened. After all, the two of them also wanted to ask the owner of TNG. As long as the other party hides some information, it can lead to the death of both of them. Oh. Li Yun chuckled. Wang Che and the other two. Yes. Lu Qingyu said bravely. During the confrontation, these two people had told them about joining Tianmang Mountain. It was obvious that these two people had already been to TNG Tower once. No one knows what kind of relationship these two have with the owner of TNG. If they fall in love at first sight, they will be in big trouble. Of course. The chance is not high. People like Tianji Lozhu, probably just Wang Che and Zhang Zhangfeng, may not be able to enter the eyes of Tianji Lozhu. But Lu Qingyu didn't dare to gamble. Wrong bet. Then everything will be lost. I have given advice to these two people, but they have never taken what I said to heart. It is probably their fate. Li Yun said slowly. He had already said what he should say, and the original intention of saying those words was just to keep 2 leaks as much as possible. But those 2 leaks were really not up to par, and there was nothing he could do. In any case, no, he can take action himself to save their lives, right? It's not impossible for him to take action, but it's just not necessary. Those 2 people are not qualified enough, so let him take action personally. Their vision is too narrow and they cannot understand the profound meaning of their predecessors' words, so their demise is understandable. Lu Qingyu cupped his hands, his words were very sincere, but his expression relaxed. He glanced at the Lord of Tianmang Mountain without any trace, then turned his head and said with a chuckle, to be honest with you, Senior, I have something to do when I come here today. Important matters. Become a quasi-immortal emperor. Li Yun looked at Lu Qingyu with a half-smile, and said lightly, I'm afraid the person who wants to go further is not you, but the person next to you, right? As he said that, Li Yun cast his gaze on the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain trembled and stood up in a hurry. He was trembling, as if all his thoughts were seen through, and did not dare to look at Li Yun. He leaned forward, cupped his hands and said, Senior's insightful eyes are admired by this junior. Even after experiencing countless strong winds and waves, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain could not keep calm at this moment, because the first time he came in, the Lord of Tianji Tower in front of him gave him a feeling of being lifted up by a mountain. The last time he felt like this, it was still when the underworld swept through all the worlds. When he went to worship the ruler of the underworld at that time, he took a look from a distance. Just this glance gave him an indelible impression. Now, time has passed. He thought that the world has long been there is no such kind of existence like gods and demons. But I didn't expect that I saw another one in Tianji Tower today. Facing such a person, no matter how underground the attitude is, it is appropriate, because such a person, with a single thought, time, you can make yourself irreversible. Quasi-immortal emperor. Li Yun chuckled and tapped his fingers on the table. The clear sound echoed throughout the Tianji building, as if it hit the hearts of the 2 of them, but they felt extremely heavy. Do you know that the quasi-immortal emperor is the most amazing and talented person in all the worlds and throughout the eternity of time and space? Anyone like this can create an immortal force. The world will be destroyed, but I will not be destroyed. It is not that simple to become such a person. Since the destruction of the underworld, have you ever known that someone has become a quasi-immortal emperor? Li Yun said slowly. As soon as these words came out, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain fell into deep thought. He had been sealed. He didn't know much about the things in the Sumeru realm, let alone other worlds. Lu Qingyu's face was even more expressionless. Dignity. As far as he knows, there has never been any quasi-immortal emperor in all eternity. As a result, the realm of quasi-immortal emperor is unknown to many cultivators. Many people believe that the immortal king is the end of cultivation. If it weren't for the long heritage of the Lu family, they probably wouldn't have known that there were 2 realms above the immortal king. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 584. Seniors, if the juniors want to go further, how many resources are needed? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain asked patiently. He has been preparing for so long just for today. If the Lord of Tianji has no way to let him break through, he will probably die with his eyes open. Too much. Li Yun glanced at the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and said lightly. With your qualifications, you are destined to be unable to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor realm in this life. If you want to go further, it is almost equivalent to changing your destiny against the will of heaven. Do you understand the difficulties and dangers involved? As he spoke, Li Yun pointed to the storage ring worn by the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and said slowly. The resources of the two worlds combined are not enough to make you make further progress. If so, in the previous Tianyan realm, if all the resources were gathered in the hands of one person, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain might be able to take a further step. But at this moment, the Tianyan realm, it just came together. Some time ago, Tianyan world was still 3 independent small worlds. How many resources could it have? Not to mention, there is also a mysterious light world, which has been swept away by the underworld. The remaining 2 worlds are not enough to support the Lord of Tianmang Mountain's breakthrough. Need so much. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain was speechless. He thought that if he wanted to break through the quasi-immortal Emperor, he would have to spend a lot of money, but he didn't expect it to be so huge. You know, he has conquered both the Jinhui realm and the Sumeru realm. Just like this, the conditions cannot be met. God knows how many things are needed to go further. Especially, the Master of Tianji just made it clear to him that he did not have the qualifications to break through to the quasi-immortal Emperor at all, so that he almost did it. Desperate. Fortunately, the owner of Tianji did not say that he could not help. As long as the owner of Tianji is willing to help, no matter how many resources it is, he will not take it to heart, even if it means starting a war with the God realm, it doesn't matter. There has been no quasi-immortal emperor for eternity, and you, a person with insufficient qualifications and bad luck, want to become a quasi-immortal emperor. Naturally, you have to pay a higher price. Li Yun said softly. There is only one realm difference between the quasi-immortal emperor and the immortal king. But the two are worlds apart. Immortal king. In every powerful world, there will be 1 or 2 like the God realm. A terrifying world like the immortal realm has been accumulated for a long time through the ages. I don't know how many immortal kings exist. There are not even 1,000 but 800 of them on the surface, hidden in the dark, and traveling out. But so many immortal kings are all at once. There is no quasi-immortal emperor. This shows how difficult it is to become a quasi-immortal emperor. Can seniors please give me some words of wisdom and how many resources will be needed? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain gritted his teeth and said. His obsession is too strong. If he cannot become a quasi-immortal emperor, he is afraid that he will go completely crazy. Now he knows that there is no possibility for him, but he must know the price. With your qualifications, you need at least 10 quasi-immortal emperor level items. It could be a weapon, a skill, or an elixir. Li Yun said indifferently. As soon as these words came out, it was like a bolt of thunder, falling from the sky and covering the body of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. His obsession for eternity made him stunned. 10 items. Quasi-immortal emperor level items. This is unbelievable. Throughout the ages, it is uncertain whether 10 quasi-immortal emperors have been born. Where can I go to get 10 quasi-immortal emperor items? Even if there is, are such things within his reach? I am afraid that as soon as I get close, I will be seriously injured by a ray of energy. After all, anything that comes into contact with the quasi-immortal emperor cannot be easily touched by others. Even if the quasi-immortal emperor has died, what if a trace of his soul remains immortal? In a fantasy world, everything is possible. If you rush to snatch something like this, the possibility of losing your life in the end is very high. Well. Lu Qingyu inadvertently glanced at the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. Although he joined Tianmang Mountain, he was not a subordinate of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain. At the moment, in his opinion, the other party is finished. Even if he had the power to reach heaven, it would be impossible for him to obtain 10 items of quasi-mortal emperor level. If he could get it, he would no longer be the lord of Tianmang Mountain. Since the other party has no hope, he can still consider it. After all, he also has the inheritance of the underworld. What if he becomes the next lord of the underworld? I dare to ask the seniors, what if the juniors want to go further? Lu Qingyu said with a calm expression. In his opinion, he was born after the destruction of the underworld. In just a few years, he became the immortal king, and then he went against the will of heaven and entered reincarnation. In terms of talent, he is the master of Mount Bishanmang. It's quite amazing. Come to think of it, the resources spent will be much less. If you go one step further, it's not impossible to consider taking the Lord of Tianmang Mountain as your subordinate. Same as him. Li Yun glanced at Lu Qingyu and said angrily. Well. All of a sudden. Lu Qingyu was dumbfounded. How can it be? I was hailed as the #1 genius in the God realm back then. How could I spend the same resources as the Lord of Tianmang Mountain? Did the seniors make a mistake? Lu Qingyu asked. Could it be that you don't believe me? Li Yun's eyes widened, and his tone became much more indifferent. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 585. I don't have the qualifications to become a quasi-immortal emperor. Lu Qingyu was dumbfounded. He is a great genius of a generation and has overshadowed the figures of an era in the God realm. How could he also not have the qualifications to become a quasi-immortal emperor? This is unscientific. To be precise, you are a bit better than him, but you are also limited. What you need is almost the same. Li Yunfan said lightly. This. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu were speechless. The two looked at each other and almost saw the despair in each other's eyes. One person has 10 quasi-immortal emperor level items, and two people add up to 20 items, so there is almost no need to think about it. Don't talk about the world of gods. It is the fairy world that is much stronger than the divine world. Except for the records in ancient books about one immortal emperor and 3 quasi-immortal emperors, there are no other records. In other words, everything in the heavens and the worlds combined. It seems that it is not enough to support the two of them to become quasi-immortal emperors. Not because of anything else. It is really too rare to be a quasi-immortal emperor. Looking at the immortal emperors from ancient times to the present, there have been 2, one in the immortal world and one in the underworld. There are a little more quasi-immortal emperor characters, but they are also very limited. You can count them with just 2 hands. As for the things left by the immortal emperor, the two of them didn't dare to think about it. They couldn't get it into their hands at all. The whereabouts of the remaining things left by the quasi-immortal emperor were also a mystery. Whether a person can successfully break through is hard to say. Not to mention, let the second person take the final step. I would like to ask Senior, do you have any other ways to make the 2 juniors go further? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain asked tentatively. No. Li Yun raised his head. He looked at the 2 people with sharp eyes and said in a deep voice, do you think the quasi-immortal emperor is so easy to achieve? There is only one way, there is only one road. There are huge risks involved. Even if I give you some guidance, it's hard to say whether you can successfully take the last step. There is only one way, and there is huge danger. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain looked stern. He suddenly had a bad premonition in his heart, and his intuition told him that this method might not be a good one, and it might be related to a certain quasi-immortal emperor. After all, even if an immortal king can successfully break through and become a quasi-immortal emperor, at least it must be the opportunity left by the quasi-immortal emperor. If you imagine from a higher level, even if it concerns the immortal emperor, it is possible. Senior, If Lu Qinghong becomes the quasi-immortal emperor, how many resources will he need? Lu Qingyu asked softly. Lu Qinghong is the most amazing and talented person in the Lu clan throughout the ages. His strength has reached the peak of the immortal king, and he is only half a step away from stepping into the quasi-immortal emperor. In the god realm, there have always been rumors that Lu Qinghong is one of the most promising people to become a quasi-immortal emperor. Several people with the same name as Lu Qinghong are all ancient existences without exception. Only Lu Qinghong was born after the war in the underworld, and was born more than Lu Qingyu. A little late. That old genius from your Lu clan. Li Yun said with a chuckle. Well, yes. Lu Qingyu said awkwardly. Although Lu Qinghong was born a little later, compared to him, he has lived for hundreds of millions of years. No matter in any world, he is he's an old monster. It's not too much to say he's an old genius. Same as you. Li Yun said neither salty nor indifferently. 1. Sample. Lu Qingyu almost suspected that he heard it wrong. How is this possible? Even he admires Lu Qinghong's talent. If he is the best in a generation, then Lu Qinghong is the best in most of the era. Thousands of people before and after him in 10,000 years, no one has been able to break his practice record. When he was born, the head of the Lu clan made a bold statement that my son Lu Qinghong has the appearance of an immortal emperor. In fact, that is exactly what happened. Lu Qinghong is indeed like a young immortal emperor, he was invincible at the same level. He left everyone behind him in a short period of time. In the end, he became the immortal king early. He was envied by countless people. But he was such an amazingly talented person. People. Senior Tianji building master actually said that he also needs 10 things at the level of quasi-immortal emperor. What does this mean? Does it mean that all people at the peak of the immortal king need so many resources? In other words, is the path to becoming a quasi-immortal emperor already cut off? Is it almost impossible to become a quasi-immortal emperor? Senior, is there something hidden in this? Lu Qingyu asked with a solemn face. The resources that everyone needs to spend to become a quasi-immortal emperor are almost the same, which means that there must be something unknown. At least, in his opinion, he and Lu Qinghong is still a bit stronger than many immortal kings. And the Lord of Tianmang Mountain can survive for such a long time, and he is also extraordinary. He should not have spent so many resources to become a quasi-immortal emperor. Of course there is a secret. Li Yun tapped his fingers on the table and said slowly, but not everyone knows the secret. Said. Li Yun picked up the teacup and took a slow sip. The meaning is self-evident. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 586. Really? Lu Qingyu secretly thought in his heart. In the past years, although it was difficult for quasi-immortal emperors to enter, one or two would always appear for countless years. But today, the underworld has been destroyed for countless years. But a quasi-immortal emperor, none of them have appeared before. No matter how you look at it, it's a bit unrealistic. If there aren't some unknown things in this, he wouldn't believe it. Senior, how much is this news worth? Lu Qingyu asked. Just now, the meaning of what the senior said was very clear. He is not a fool. If he wants to know this kind of information, he must exchange something of equal value. As for how many resources are needed, then it depends on what the owner of Tianji means. Not much. Li Yun shrugged and said slowly, an immortal king level item is enough. After all, there is more than one person who knows about this matter. Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain raised their eyebrows. They were already prepared for heavy bleeding. They never expected that an immortal king level item could get such a shocking secret, allowing the two of them to instantly a little bit unresponsive. Logically speaking, this kind of top-secret information should not start with an item of quasi-immortal emperor level. Then, they thought of this news, more than one person knew it, and they felt relieved quickly. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain appeared in the hands. A small tower full of ancient charm was presented to Li Yun, and he said respectfully, "Senior, please clarify your doubts. This ancient pagoda is none other than what he obtained from the Xiao family. It is perfect to take it out now and exchange news for it." Li Yun stretched out his hand to take it, and after taking a closer look at the ancient pagoda, he put it away. There were two people beside him. When they were waiting a little anxiously, Li Yun slowly spoke. For countless years, no one has been able to become a quasi-immortal emperor. The reason is very simple, that is, someone has cut off some of the laws of heaven and cut off the way forward for everyone. What? Hearing this sentence, Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain stared with big eyes and small eyes. The first thought in their minds was that it is impossible. The law of heaven. What is that? That is the foundation of a world, or even an infinite world. How can it be said that it can be cut off by human power? Isn't this a joke? But thinking that this was the senior Tianji building owner speaking, they suppressed the disbelief in their hearts and waited quietly for Li Yun's next words. They know that since the owner of Tianji said so, he must have his own reasons. To be precise, I just cut off your way forward. This. Lu Qingyu was puzzled, he was confused, raised his hands and said, "Senior, can you make it clear? Your cultivation path is no longer feasible, because the laws of heaven and earth do not allow it, unless someone can open up another path of cultivation. Otherwise, there will never be a second quasi-immortal emperor, or even a second immortal emperor. Throughout the ages, some people have noticed something is wrong and want to make up for the broken paths behind it. However, the laws of heaven and earth are partially incomplete and cannot be completed by human power." Li Yun said slowly. Every word of these words was like a bolt from the blue, hitting the depths of their minds, making them unable to calm down for a long time. The path of cultivation is cut off? What should I do? Senior, the meaning of these words is very clear, that is, in today's cultivation system, no matter what skills you practice, as long as you do not jump out of the scope of this system, it will never be possible to give birth to a quasi-immortal emperor-level figure. Unless someone can create a character from a new cultivation system appears. But such a character cannot appear in an era. When a new cultivation system appears, God knows how long it will take. Senior means that if juniors and others want to become quasi-immortal emperors, they must create a new path of cultivation. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said with a bitter look on his face. Creating a brand new skill is not too simple for him. After all, the strength of his immortal king is there. A flash of inspiration flashed in his mind. Top-notch skills. If you think about it casually, it is a skill that can make a person become an emperor. This is the benefit of being in a high position. He has enough strength to create a skill. For him, it is like eating and drinking. But creating a new cultivation system, this is simply too difficult. In this system, he has reached the peak of the immortal king, and his vision has been completely limited. If he wants to jump out of this category and walk out of his own way, it is as difficult as climbing to the sky. It can be said that the more profound the strength, the stronger it is restricted by the current cultivation system. For a figure like him, the immortal king, it can be concluded that this is the only achievement in this life. Dare I ask the seniors, who cut off the way forward? Lu Qingyu asked in a deep voice. His face was as gloomy as water, and his mood was very heavy. In the past, it was fine if he didn't know, but now that he knows, he can't wait to dig up the ancestral grave of the person who cut off the way of heaven. Isn't this a trap? Moreover, it's not just one or two people who were tricked, it was tricked by endless people. It can be seen that in the future, as long as there is no pioneer figure, everyone will be completely restricted. In his opinion, it is possible to achieve this step, and the one with such strength and motivation is probably the only one who is rumored to be the master of the underworld. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 587. Night Wind Travels. Li Yun slowly spit out 3 words. After hearing these 3 words, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain and Lu Qingyu were confused. Who is this person? I have never heard of it. Could it be that in the past, the Lord of the Underworld, the Lord's name is taboo? After all, after the underworld swept through the heavens, no one mentioned his real name. It became a taboo. Anyone who mentioned it would be aware of it. It's just a good thing. If so, with such nonsense, it is estimated that the Lord of the Underworld would not mind the thought of killing anyone who mentioned his name. Because of this, over time, the founder of the Underworld has no name. No one in the world knows his name anymore. Wrong. Li Yun glanced at Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain, and instantly penetrated their minds. He shook his head and said, "You may not know this person. But he also has another title, which is God Emperor. He once created a force that was not inferior to the underworld, and its name was Shenting. God, Court. Beside." The Lord of Tianmang Mountain shook his body, and an incredible look appeared in his eyes. Lu Qingyu may not have experienced the battle in the underworld because he was born too late, but he has experienced it personally, whether he is the Lord of the Underworld or the Lord of the Divine Court. Those are all existences that can destroy heaven and earth with just one move. Even taking a look at it from a distance can make people's hearts tremble, let alone getting involved between 2 people. To this day, mentioning these 2 people again, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain could not help but feel frightened. It's like I'm back again. In that period of blood and fire. Even though he had already reached the pinnacle of the immortal king, he still didn't feel safe if he returned to that era again, because that battle was too terrifying. From immortal emperor to quasi-immortal emperor to great emperor and saint, countless cultivators were involved. The battlefield spread to countless worlds. If he, the immortal king, joins in, it will just be a bigger wave. It played no key role in the overall battlefield situation. The feeling of powerlessness made his heart almost break. It was too terrifying. Senior is saying that the person who cuts off the path forward is the Lord of the Divine Court. Lu Qingyu said with a little disbelief. This God Emperor is the first immortal emperor in history. Whether it is true or not is unknown, but this is how it is recorded in ancient books. If this God Emperor did not prove the truth, to this day, perhaps in the hearts of countless people, the quasi-immortal emperor is the highest state. Even though this God Emperor has long since disappeared in the long river of time, the divine court he established has also been wiped out. But the cultivation he left behind the system is still prosperous. It can be said that in today's world, every cultivator is following the old path of the God Emperor. But because of this, it is a bit unbelievable that the person who personally cuts off the path of cultivation is actually like this, the founder of the system. This is very confusing. Why did he do this? Even if you want to cut off, you have to cut off the one created by the Lord of the Underworld. After all, the Lord of the Underworld found another way and created a brand new path of cultivation. In order to prevent the resurgence of the Underworld, how good is it to cut off the way forward for the Underworld? Why cut off your own inheritance with your own hands? Yes. Li Yun nodded, and at the same time took a deep look at Lu Qingyu, and said in a slightly lower voice, the path of cultivation created by the Lord of the Underworld has also been cut off. Lu Qingyu's anger rose. This God Emperor is too awesome. All the paths of cultivation have been cut off. Doesn't it mean that he wants to cut off the way forward for everyone? Fortunately, they worked hard to plan the inheritance of the underworld. It's over. Everything has become a mirror. If the immortal king is the end, wouldn't all their previous actions be as ridiculous as the clowns? That's fine if you can't go any further. On the contrary, he offended a group of enemies because he was involved in the underworld. After all, there are some creatures in the god realm who will not let them go and will definitely settle accounts with them. In fact, it is not difficult to create a new path of cultivation. Li Yunfen said lightly. Other people may have limited vision, but he could still count a few on his fingers, such as planting seeds with his body, Pollen Road. At worst, you can also use Fighting Spirit or a Million-Year Soul Ring. If it is exciting enough, it is not impossible to create a Golden Elixir Avenue directly. Li Yun could easily figure out these cultivation paths, but it was hard to say whether the creatures in this world could create them. Even though Li Yun told them their names and ideas. But by the time they try and make mistakes bit by bit, and finally complete the entire path of cultivation, they still don't know how long it will take. Of course. In Li Yun's view, if there is no protection from heaven and luck, the risk of rashly starting a new path of cultivation and going astray is even greater. Maybe, one day, he will die inexplicably. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 588. Senior joked. Lu Qingyu said bitterly. In his opinion, the senior Tianji building master in front of him must be above the immortal king in strength. The lowest is the quasi-immortal emperor, and the highest may be an immortal emperor. The other party must have created his own the path of cultivation. If you can follow his path and become a quasi-immortal emperor, it is naturally not difficult, but the senior in front of you seems to have no idea of passing on the cultivation method to them. This also makes them dare not speak. Ask. As for creating another path of cultivation, this may be very simple for Tianji Lozhu, but for them, it is no less than a dead end. If you try rashly, you may go crazy. By doing this, the God Emperor cut off the future of the underworld, but it also cut off the way forward for everyone else, so why bother? Lu Qingyu sighed. He is taking precautions before they happen. Li Yunfen Qingyun said calmly. No one can guarantee whether the underworld will revive in the future. Even if the underworld is pacified, will the path of cultivation he opened up continue to lead to careerists? That God Emperor, directly cutting off all the paths to the quasi-immortal emperor. It is to limit all cultivators to the immortal king. In this way, even if someone has undue ambitions, it will not cause much harm. Influence, after all, although the immortal king is powerful, there are still many such figures. They will not be like the immortal emperor. Once he takes action, it will affect all heavens and all realms. Senior, I can understand the painstaking efforts of the God Emperor, but Senior has said before that people can successfully enter the realm of quasi-immortal emperor. Is this true? Lu Qingyu rubbed his hands and asked curiously. There is no way to follow the path of the predecessors. But the master of Tianji in front of him has a way, and he still doesn't want to give up this opportunity. No matter what method it is, no matter how dangerous it is, he will do it. I want to give it a try. Next to me, the Lord of Tianmang Mountain has also become energetic. He is also very curious about the method mentioned by the master of Tianji building. If he can go further, then he will have no rivals in the world, because senior it has been said that the way forward for cultivation has been cut off. It is certain that once he becomes a quasi-immortal emperor, he will be invincible. As for whether the previous immortal emperor or quasi-immortal emperor is still alive, he has never thought about it, because in his it seems that after the battle in the underworld, even if he did not die, that kind of character should be lingering on. He cannot pose a big threat to him. Nature is true. Li Yun nodded, and he said slowly, although I have a way to let you step into the next realm, I'm afraid you two can't afford the price. This junior understands this. Lu Qingyu asked curiously, but can senior reveal some details about how to become a quasi-immortal emperor? So that the two juniors can have some confidence in their hearts. These words. Lu Qingyu doesn't want to get rid of nothing, but wants to know that the method mentioned by the senior Tianji building master is really feasible. After all, both paths for cultivation have been cut off. Want to know? Going further would require paying a huge price, which the two of them had to treat with caution. Hell. Li Yun glanced at the two of them and slowly uttered two words. After a pause, he said again, God Emperor. Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain are very puzzled. What does this mean, senior? Doesn't it mean that the cultivation system of these two people has been cut off? Is it possible that senior has a way to repair it? Yes. Senior, what is it like? If a person is not as famous as the God Emperor, the opponent can cut it off, and it seems reasonable for the senior to restore it. I estimate that the price I and others have to pay is the cost of asking the senior Tianji building master to take action. Although it is inconsistent with this Tianji poster's habit of never taking action. But as long as senior Tianji poster has a way, it will be enough. Since the senior has a solution, the junior can rest assured. Lu Qingyu handed over his hand. He gave the Lord of Tianmang Mountain a look, smiled and said, Junior, I'll take my leave for now. This. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain frowned, wondering in his heart, what is Lu Qingyu doing? After the two of them arrived, they had no time to say anything, so they were leaving now. And the person who left Tianji Tower just now obviously bought some information from Tianji Tower. Could it be possible that he and others just left without asking? Although I was very puzzled. But the Lord of Tianmang Mountain still chose to believe in Lu Qingyu. He cupped his hands and said respectfully. Juniors say goodbye. Not sending. Outside the Tianji building. The two of them had just come out. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain couldn't help it anymore, he said with a displeased look on his face, fellow Daoist Lu, what are you trying to do? Don't we already know what we want? If you don't leave now, when will you stay? Lu Qingyu said with a calm expression. What do we know? How to become a quasi-immortal emperor? Or is it news that someone else is dealing with us? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain had cold eyes and said in a cold voice. The quasi-immortal emperor is too illusory. Although the senior Tianji building master has a way, the price is simply not something you and I can bear. Rather than wasting resources in vain, it is better to save them for later and use them wisely. Lu Qingyu said with a smile. What's the meaning? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain was puzzled. People who want to become quasi-immortal emperors, I don't know, you and I, we really can't come up with enough resources alone, but what if we spread this news to all the worlds? Lu Qingyu said in a low voice. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 589. Do you want to send news to other worlds? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain was dumbfounded. After hearing what the master of Tianji Tower said. To be honest, he was almost desperate in this realm for the quasi-immortal emperor. The way forward was cut off and no one could break through. He didn't think he was the kind of talented genius who can open up a new path of cultivation. Since no one can break through. He originally thought of changing a few opportunities in the Tianji Tower to enhance his own foundation. Anyway, he can't break through. It's better to let yourself become the strongest immortal king. But this news was pulled out by Lu Qingyu before he asked it, and he finally kept it in his heart. Now, after hearing Lu Qingyu's words, he frowned, he jumped slightly and felt a little moved in his heart. With him and Lu Qingyu, there is no doubt that they will never be able to come up with enough opportunities, but if there are creatures from other worlds to help, that is not necessarily the case. After all, among all the heavens and worlds, the immortal king there are still quite a few. But the key is, how to deliver this news. And, after the news is delivered, how to make people believe that Tianji Tower has a great reputation in the current world, but it has gone to other places. The world. Whether this golden signboard is easy to use or not is not necessarily true. Maybe not. There are not many people who come back to buy it. Even if someone buys it, after everyone has verified the authenticity of this matter, they will not know the past. How long has it been? Right now, the two of them don't have so much time to waste here. The longer it is delayed, the greater the possibility that the creatures in the world will take the lead in dealing with them. It is very likely. The final result is, a group of immortal kings gathered the opportunity and found a way to become a quasi-immortal emperor, and he and Lu Qingyu also became withered bones in the grave. Is there really a way to send messages to other worlds? The Lord of Tianmang Mountain asked. His forces have been wiped out for a long time. Now that he has broken the seal, he can be said to be alone. He can't even figure out where the other worlds are. Not to mention, who will be there. The message was passed on. If not. Lu Qingyu chuckled, with a calm expression. He raised one hand and spread his palm. In the palm of his hand was a jade slip, flowing with crystal brilliance. This is. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain frowned slightly. He looked at the jade slips, then at Lu Qingyu, and said doubtfully, "Send a message on the jade slips." Of course. Lu Qingyu nodded. He put away the jade slips and said, "Did the mountain master forget my identity?" The Lu clan in the divine world. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said in surprise. He looked Lu Qingyu up and down and said hesitantly, "The people of the Lu clan haven't heard about you yet. The God realm is not a small world. The Lu family has been inherited until now, and there are immortal kings sitting in charge, let alone ordinary ethnic groups. If they help spread the word, it will indeed be a powerful help. It won't take long for the entire God realm. Everyone will know about it. If things go wrong, there will be creatures from the fairy world joining in. The fate of these two powerful worlds is not far away from spreading to all the heavens and all the worlds. After all, among all the worlds, these two worlds can be said to be standing at the apex. The other worlds have a mentality of blind obedience. If these two worlds move, the other worlds will definitely be unable to hold back. By then, the plan will be almost successful. Countless people came. Tianji Tower, how can you not get the opportunity to become a quasi-immortal emperor? So what if you know? Lu Qingyu looked indifferent and said slowly, "The Lu family is not monolithic. My descendants occupy many important positions in the Lu family. There are some things they can't hide from me at all." When he was in the Tianji Tower, some news came into the jade slips. At that time, he just glanced at it casually, but with just one glance, he also learned about all the actions of the Lu family, including the 3 people sent by the other party. News about the immortal king. This was also due to the fact that Li Yun had removed a lot of the suppressive power in the Tianji Tower. Otherwise, he would not have been able to see this news at all. I see. The frowning brows of the Lord of Tianmang Mountain gradually relaxed. In the near future, 3 immortal kings will cross over from the God realm. We may be able to take this opportunity to keep them here completely. Lu Qingyu said with a smile. Although, we don't know how the indigenous people of these worlds want to deal with us. When I think about it, the threat posed by the 3 immortal kings coming together will not be greater. Once the 3 of them are dealt with, it should be effortless to suppress these natives. And after saying this, Lu Qingyu paused for a moment, and he said slowly, "I have asked my descendants to release the news in the God realm. It is estimated that it won't take long for the entire God realm to know that there is a Tianji Tower here in the Tianyuan realm that can help them make further progress." Good means. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain's eyes lit up and he praised. A two-pronged approach. Maybe they don't need to wait too long before a steady stream of immortal kings will arrive in Tianyuan world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 590. Sumeru Realm. The Lu family. After Tianmang Mountain was born, the leader of Tianmang Mountain swept away the entire Sumeru realm, and almost all the stronger ethnic groups were completely buried. And the Lu family. Because of Lu Qingyu's relationship, he was lucky enough to escape. Now, in the main hall of the Lu clan, the head of the Lu clan stood aside. Among them, Lu Qingyu and the lord of Tianmang Mountain stood side by side, looking into the void in the distance, with a hint of joking in his eyebrows. Although the Lu clan in the Sumeru realm has some connection with the Lu clan in your god realm, after so many years, the relationship between you is probably only one surname. Out of the corner of his eye, the lord of Tianmang Mountain glanced at the trembling chief Lu clan and said indifferently. This clan chief was a little arrogant at first, but after sensing the momentum of the two men, he immediately became intimidated. He knew how to protect himself very well. Reason. Strictly speaking, I am also a creature of the Sumeru realm. Lu Qingyu said lightly. However, when the Tianyuan realm was shattered, the Lu clan here gradually declined, but the clan members who came out of the god realm became increasingly prosperous. Hundreds of millions of years have passed, and although the contact between the two races has been severed, it is also true that they have the same origin. As soon as these words came out, the leader of the Lu clan next to him trembled and looked at Lu Qingyu in disbelief. Then he quickly lowered his head. Before that, Lu Qingyu was just a member of the Lu clan in the Sumeru realm. The humble tribesman suddenly left the family some time ago and is back today. Unexpectedly, he has cultivated to a terrifying level. He originally thought that the tribesman named Lu Qingyu had been taken away by some old monster. But now it's coming. I'm afraid not. The other party seems to have reincarnated with the memory of the previous life, and the words mentioned a terrifying world where there is also a Lu family. But let him go through everything in his mind memory. I don't remember that the clan has recorded that other clan members of the Lu clan went to other areas. Maybe it's because the result of the Tianyuan realm being shattered. Before the Tianyuan realm was broken, although the Lu clan was not strong, it was not too bad either. It was much better than it is now. But after the Tianyuan realm was destroyed, the Lu family is also getting worse day by day. Most of the clan's ancient books have been lost. From the perspective of the Lu clan leader, the reason why he doesn't know the Lu clan in the god realm may be because of this. I don't know if I can take this opportunity to have some relationship with the god realm. The Lu clan chief thought in his heart. If they can hold this thigh, maybe in time, they can regain their former glory. While the Lu clan chief was thinking about it, the lord of Tianmang Mountain spoke. From the same source. Ah! The lord of Tianmang Mountain sneered and said slowly, I see that you don't seem to take them to heart. When we fight together, how many of these people can be left? And talk about this. He did not continue. Not long ago, Lu Qingyu personally set up a killing array, which was specially designed to deal with the immortal king of the Lu clan. Once the formation was opened, the creatures whose strength was not as strong as the immortal king would be eliminated. I'm afraid it will turn into a bloody mist in an instant. 2 persons. Clan leader Lu was shocked. He was not a fool. When these 2 people talked, they did not avoid him at all. From the few words they said, you could tell that this place would become a battlefield in a short time. These 2 were not ordinary people. If they were to attack with all their strength, not to mention the ordinary clansman, even he himself might not be able to survive. To know When these two people first appeared, just a wisp of breath suppressed him, unable to move for half a minute. If he attacked with all his strength, what kind of devastating scene would it be? But just when he spoke, Lu Qingyu squinted from the corner of his eyes, and a gaze fell down, like an ancient sacred mountain falling from the sky and pressing on his shoulders. Time. There was a muffled sound. Clan Chief Lu was half kneeling on the ground. With him as the center, the entire hall was covered with dense cracks, spreading in all directions. His face was pale, his chest heaved violently, and his heart was filled with shock. If Lu Qingyu had used more momentum just now, he might have turned into powder now. He just wanted to persuade the two of them to change the battlefield, but he didn't expect that he couldn't say this at all. In front of the two of them, he was like an ant. There's not even room for resistance. When did you have the right to speak here? Lu Qingyu said lightly. When these words reached the ears of the Lu clan leader, he felt extremely humiliated, but he had no choice. The Lu Qingyu in front of him was no longer the Lu Qingyu he was familiar with. He was a complete stranger. Character. To him, the Lu family is just a tool. After using it, he can throw it away at any time. What Taoist fellow Taoist did today is quite to my liking. Cultivators should not be entangled in worldly things. The Lord of Tianmang Mountain said with a chuckle. He glanced at the extremely embarrassed Lu clan chief, and asked, counting the time, those immortal kings who have crossed over from the god realm should be here soon, right? Fantasy, me. Create a secret building at the beginning. Author, Mavericks Flying. Chapter 591. At the same time. Tianji Tower. Meng Qingzi appeared quickly. He stepped out and entered the Tianji building in one step. Junior Meng Qingzi pays homage to his seniors. As soon as he came in, Meng Qingzi quickly raised his hands and saluted. Came back. Li Yun raised the corners of his eyes, glanced at Meng Qingzi, and Feng Qingyun said calmly. Thanks to the blessing of the senior, the junior returned to Tianyuan realm without any danger along the way. Meng Qingzi said with emotion. After going to the Xianguang realm once, he realized how insignificant his emperor-level strength was. Even though the Xianguang realm had been weakened by the underworld, there were still many emperors. Those for him, everyone is powerful. If he is not careful, he may not even be able to get out of the Xianguang realm. After all, he has the foundation of the Xianguang realm's underworld. If others know about it, they will not be able to attack in groups. In fact, you could have chosen to come back with Taishu and the two of you. Li Yun chuckled. These two people have no intention of coveting what you have in your hands. That's what the senior said. Meng Qingsheng smiled sarcastically. He didn't take it to heart. If the owner of Tianji Hall had said so at the beginning, he would have been able to come back with Taishu and others with peace of mind, but without the guarantee from the owner of Tianji Hall, he wouldn't be able to give him 100 courages. Dare to walk with Taishu. Senior, this is the formation you lent me before. I brought it back to you, intact. A formation plate appeared in Meng Qingzi's hand. He handed it forward and said with some reluctance. In the Xianguang realm, during the battle of the underworld, the horror of this formation can be said to be vividly demonstrated. It is as powerful as the Lord of the underworld. Are unable to break out of the seal, and other immortal level characters, once trapped, will never be able to escape. In today's era, where strong men emerge in endlessly. If I and the 9 nether demon sect behind me can have such a with the protection of a formation, you can feel a sense of security. Li Yun stretched out his hand to take the array plate, glanced at Meng Qingzi, and said with a chuckle, this time you went to Xianguang realm, it seems that you have gained a lot, and even your cultivation has improved a lot. Compared with his predecessors, this level of cultivation is still far behind. Meng Qingzi said with some embarrassment. He paused, as if he thought of something, and asked softly, "Senior, after this Junior went to the Xianguang realm, I heard that the inheritance from the underworld is not trivial. Is this true?" In the Xianguang realm, he had already seen the terror of the Lord of the Underworld. Later, on his way back, he stayed in the Xianguang realm for a while and learned a lot about the underworld from the conversations among the creatures in the Xianguang realm. News. It can be said that within the Xianguang realm, no one is afraid of the underworld, from emperors or immortal figures to ordinary creatures. Especially the inheritance of the underworld, although fear is revealed in the discussions of those people, there are many people who covet it. After all, once you get it, you can establish a force that sweeps the current Xianguang world. How many people are not envious? Nature is true. Li Yun looked at him deeply and said thoughtfully, "I never thought that you would actually have some interest in the inheritance of the underworld." Ahem. Meng. King Zi coughed dryly, covering up his embarrassment, and said sheepishly, "Senior, I was joking. How many people in this world are not interested in the inheritance of the underworld? The inheritance of the underworld is no small matter. Not to mention the distance. Just taking out the means that can control the dead is enough to shock countless worlds. It was because of this that the underworld of the Xianguang realm swept the entire world. But did you know that even the immortal king would be tempted by the current underworld inheritance?" Li Yun said slowly. "Is the immortal king excited?" Hearing the news, Meng Qingzi's eyes flashed with dazzling light. He had already guessed the inheritance of the underworld, which was very eye-catching, but he didn't expect that it was so popular. Even the immortal king was moved. This must be how terrifying? If he had not known how powerful the immortal king was before, but after staying in the Xianguang realm for a while, he had learned about the existence of the immortal king. Such a character, to put it bluntly, can be regarded as immortal. To them, Xiao Yuan is just a number. Their strength is terrifying and boundless. The inheritance from the underworld that they all want to snatch is naturally precious and extraordinary. He understands that with his own strength, he may not be enough to participate in it. But who will let him behind his back? Where is this Tianji building master? With the help of senior Tianji building master, I don't say that I can swallow all the inheritance of the underworld. Even if I get a little bit, I guess it can be used for the rest of my life. It seems that you still don't know the origin of the underworld and have forgotten your own strength." Li Yun chuckled. Everyone's heart is moved by the inheritance of the underworld. If it were before, that would be fine. But now Lu Qingyu and the Lord of Tianmang Mountain are involved. Meng Qingzi, relying on the strength of the emperor, still wants to get a share of the pie. This is a bit like hanging an old man. The meaning is in it. "Isn't there a senior here?" Meng Qingzi said flatteringly.